What's up, YouTube? It's your buddy Troy here. I just want to start off by saying please don't ban fitness content on YouTube, because it can be a light at the end of the tunnel for some people. I remember a time when I was 20 years old, right, a few years ago, when I had no idea that what I ate had any bearing whatsoever, like, on my physique. I just assumed that had to do with, whether you exercised or not and how you exercised. And boy, I tell you, I was very fortunate to have access to people. And in that day, there were magazines. I remember Men's Health magazine was a big one. But I met a guy, and he taught me, he showed me what was possible in terms of how to eat in order to reduce the amount of body fat that I was carrying around. Because I exercised, right? I went to the gym, I lifted weights, I was strong, I played sports, but my body was, it was too big. I was carrying around too much fat, and I couldn't figure out how to change that until I did. And so the reason I say YouTube, please don't ban the content, is because there's got to be someone out there right now watching this that maybe feels a little stuck. And if that's you and you've been struggling to lose some weight, to lose some body fat, what I want you to know is that it's possible. People do it all the time. But the thing is, we're all different, and we need to find the way that works for us. And what makes sense, and the smart thing to do, is to do it the easiest way we can. Look for the low-hanging fruit. It's the easy changes that we can stick to, and when we make the really hard changes, we quit those ones. And so I thought we could talk about that a little bit in this video, talk about some mistakes that people make on their weight loss journey. And if you support me in holding this space for people, what I ask is that you subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot to me, and it's 100% free for you. So please do that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Share what's working well for you, and all feedback is appreciated. You can let me know I suck too. That's great also. So let's do a top 10 reasons why maybe we're at that plateau, right? Or we're having trouble on our weight loss journey. And if that's you, let me tell you this: you've already taken the most important first step, which is actually taking a look at ourselves and saying, you know what? There are some changes that I want to make. Because guys, we do mental gymnastics sometimes to not look at things. So if you've already examined where you're at, and you can identify that you want to make some changes, you're ahead, right? If it was a race, you're winning, you're ahead. There's just some small refinements that you have to do now. So let's talk about some of those. Number one, how's your sleep? What I find, right, is that when I'm sleep deprived, it affects me in the belly fat area. And maybe I'm not alone in this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, but for me, when I'm getting enough sleep, I tend to be leaner in the stomach without doing anything. That's the only change, sleep. And it has to do with our hormones. It has to do with certain stress chemicals in the body. And I think that when we're sleep deprived, which so many of us are so often, in the times in my life when I have been, it's been belly fat city. So it's just something to be mindful of. Sleep is number one. Number two, and it has to do with the sleep also in terms of hormones, but it's stress. And without going down a rabbit hole around, my thoughts around like overeating and emotional eating, but I think that those things do come into play in terms of stress, because sometimes we can self-medicate with food when we get stressed out. And I feel like, for me, stress, it's almost like it's burning energy, right? And so I'm hungry as a result of that stress, but really I've just been sitting around. So the hormonal environment in my body is one that's just toxic, right? Makes you want to eat to feel better, but maybe you haven't done really any exercise. So stress can make it hard for you to lose weight. And it's heartbreaking to see people try hard and die hard. Sometimes people just try too hard right off the rip. I talk to a lot of really type A people that are just going so hard that that stress level creates a situation in their body where their body is just holding on to body fat. So it makes it hard for them to release it. Something to keep in mind, right? Maybe explore some breathing techniques. Focus on that out breath. Get it out. I'd love to hear what works well for you in terms of dealing with stress in the comments. Next, and it's a way to sort of de-stress your body, proper hydration. Drink enough water. Like I said, when you restrict water, what does that feel like? I know for me, it is stressful. If you've ever been out and you didn't have water to drink, right? And you start getting thirsty, you start thinking about it. If you don't have water, which many of us watching this on the internet, right? We're rich people, so we're very fortunate to have access to this stuff from the tap. But when you don't have it, you notice it, and it's a stress, right? Just like when you don't have air, you notice that quick. It's a stress. Water is the same type of thing that'll create that situation in your body. What I find for people who are trying to lose body fat, something that helps, and for me, it helps to combat hunger, right? Because I'm a bottomless pit. So one of my problems is overeating. So by consuming water, right, it's not optimal to overconsume water, but it is a way for me to just fill myself with something that isn't going to have that caloric impact. And it also helps to sort of put your body in a state of releasing. So your body's releasing the water, you're providing the water for your body, and when your body's releasing, when you're in that caloric deficit, I think it's going to be easier for your body to release that body fat as you're breaking it down, and it helps with the elimination process and so on. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Water, water, water. Don't drink your calories. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Next, insulin resistance. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole around insulin resistance. But what we could think of is maybe eating sugary foods too often, or maybe not at the right times, or not in the right combinations. What I would say around eating sweets is try not to do naked carbs. No naked carbs. And what I mean by that is some people will say like, oh, I'm having an orange juice for breakfast, or oh, I just had a piece of fruit. And although that may work for some people, what I find when I do that is that I crash as a result of that. That makes me hungry. That makes me tired. I need to go back for that next hit of sugar. It's easier on me to not take that hit of sugar at all, or to have it like with some protein, maybe a scoop of protein powder or a little piece of lean meat, something like that, just so that there isn't that spike and crash effect. So sometimes people are doing this to themselves all the time. If you have a soda, right? If you have a soda every couple hours and you have several sodas throughout the course of the day, then think of all of those little insulin spikes you're giving yourself and what type of situation that might be creating in your body. It might be creating a situation where you're not as sensitive to that insulin anymore because it's there all the time. And that's not optimal. What you want to be is sensitive to the insulin, right? So maybe time those insulin spikes around workout times. And that way, you're driving the nutrients into the cells of your muscles that you were just working. Because when you're on a weight loss journey, preservation of muscle, which is your metabolism factory, you want to have a healthy muscular system going on to help you on your journey and support you. And one of the ways you can do that is being smart about timing those insulin spikes. And if you're insulin resistant, it could be working against you on your journey. Next, not exercising. Hey, how could we make ourselves more insulin sensitive? Oh, that's a great question. And a way that you can do that is by exercising. Do a little resistance training, right? Like lift some weights. Whatever feels right for you. It doesn't have to be crazy. But by doing that, you can help make yourself more sensitive to the effects of insulin. You can help to clear some of that blood sugar out of your blood. And you don't have to do a lot. That's my experience. But you have to do something. So I feel like, again, a way to do it that makes sense for you would be do something that you like, do something that you can see yourself doing more often than not. I see people force themselves to do things that they don't like. They get a personal trainer and the personal trainer smokes them and then they're sore for 3 days and they never go back. That, that, my friends, will not have any effect on your physique whatsoever, other than it will affect your psyche and make it harder for you than what's necessary. What's necessary is not that much. Go for a walk, get some light dumbbells and keep them in your house. Get an exercise bike or a treadmill. It really doesn't matter. Just try to be mindful to do something, because when you do nothing, again, that has some negative effects. Okay, if you're drinking too many calories, then you're not gonna lose weight, and it might be something that you're doing that you don't even notice you're doing it. And in the beginning of my weight loss journey, it was hard to do, but I cut out soda, and just by cutting out soda without making any other changes, I started to notice some changes in my body. So if you're drinking your calories and you're stuck on your weight loss journey, you're sabotaging yourself, it's time to take a look at that. Alcohol. Everyone is different. Don't beat me up on this one, or please do in the comments. But sometimes, if you're consuming alcohol in such a way so as that it's frequently, and maybe you're also sabotaging your diet in such a way so as to not notice you're doing it because of the alcohol, then it can be a double whammy. So alcohol can dehydrate you. It can mess up your hormonal environment, and in my opinion, it can also affect your willpower, so to speak, or your ability to make good choices around food. And so the invitation is just to examine that area. There's plenty of very fit people that are able to enjoy alcohol in moderation, so I'm not going to tell you to make any changes there. I never tell you what to do, what to think. We're just having a conversation about areas to examine if we're not making progress on our journey. Alcohol is one of those areas. Overeating. Ouch. Oh, arrow, right? I have a propensity for overeating. I have a little fat kid inside of me that is hungry all the time. It's a bottomless pit. Like I said, that's why for me consuming some water, right? Just something that is high volume and low calorie, that helps me because I'm hungry. Now, if you eat too much, you're not going to lose weight. And we're very fortunate to be in a position to have access to so many calories. And because of that, we are vulnerable to overeating. It's wonderful. We're very blessed to have the problem, but it is a problem nonetheless. So we have to find ways of controlling, moderating, and a way that's worked for me is eating bland food. Eat single ingredient foods. And, just experiment with portion sizes, right? Experiment with what it's like to stop at a certain amount that maybe you feel is a little bit less than what you need. And then what you learn over time is, oh, geez, I guess I didn't really need to eat so much. Looking back, it's silly how much I was eating. And then it's kind of like it gives you that light bulb moment. So what that looks like for you and for me and for everyone is going to be a little bit different, but examine the idea around overeating, because, like I said, I suppose we're all vulnerable to that to some degree. Next, undereating, being too focused on calories. Guys, it really matters, in my opinion, what you eat. So much more than just the calories. And I know that there's that school of thought that says, well, a calorie is a calorie, and you reduce calories, and okay, I'm not here to argue, but I will say that I want to feel full. I like to be able to eat more And the feeling of restricting myself by telling myself I must be under a certain amount of calories, it drives me a little bit crazy. I don't like to really have to weigh and measure and do math and stuff like that. So what I find works for me is to just kind of eat whole foods, try to eat bland food, and we have to make sure that, like, when we undereat, we open ourselves up to this like rebound effect where we want to overeat. And if this rebound effect is happening all the time, then we'll be in a situation where we're at a stalemate. We could even gain weight. You're not gonna out exercise your bad diet at that point. So that can get ugly. And I see people get stuck there all the time. So it's up to you how you want to do things, guys, but I would recommend nourish yourself, right? Find a way to eat so that you can eat until you feel full. You don't want to feel like you're restricting yourself. That's an easier path, in my opinion. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Next, your hormones could be out of whack. You could have, I'm not a doctor, you could have hypothyroid. You could have issues going on with your sex hormones. So you got to talk to a doctor at some point, guys. You got to get blood work, right? And it is important that you consult with your doctor before you undergo any kind of fitness program, because they can give you important data and kind of establish a baseline and see how you're doing, especially if you're taking any kind of supplements, right? You can keep an eye on some of your blood work numbers just to make sure that that you don't need to make any changes. So your hormones, they can work against your hormones. Are catalysts, right? And if they're not where they need to be, it could really slow down your progress. It could really work against you. You could be fighting a losing battle. Next, how often do you eat out? Are you in control of what you're eating? Because what I would say is that when you're on this journey, something for me that was very freeing was learning how to sort of like procure, get, or make, right, my own stuff. Really take ownership and control of the ingredients, how it's prepared. When you're at a restaurant, you have no control over how it's prepared or how much they give you. And I'm of the tendency to just eat the whole plate, whatever it is, right? So if it's all cooked in butter and it's all covered in all types of breading and stuff, and it's a big giant plate, well then, I can eat that. I could eat 3 or 4 of those plates probably, right? So let's be mindful of how that can happen when we eat out, because we lose control over the ingredients and how much. When you learn to cook for yourself, right? Figure out the types of foods that work for you, and then you learn how to get them, how to cook them, how to store them, and then you eat them at a frequency that works for you. Guys, do that for a few months, and I'd love to hear how that's going for you. If you've watched this far, bless you. I appreciate you so much. Hit me up in the comments, smash that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.